Welcome back here to Full Circle Florida as we bring in ABC News political correspondent Rachael Bade in these final hours before Tuesday. Rachel, we saw this week these early voting numbers come out of Pennsylvania revealing that female voters are outpacing male voters to the point apparently that some of the Trump camp expressed some concern that if men don't show up in the Keystone State for Trump, that Kamala Harris will be the next president of the United States. And I'm just wondering, is that necessarily true? And is this reported trend of male voters not voting, sitting this out, is that showing up in other critical swing states?
Yeah, it's a great question, Paul, because, we all want to read the tea leaves right now to sort of get an idea of who's going to be president after Tuesday. But the reality is a lot of the early voting stuff can be misleading, right? If you go back to 2016 and you look at all what the political prosecutors were saying about who would win, a lot of them thought Hillary Clinton was going to be the next president, and look how that turned out. Look, in Pennsylvania specifically, Democrats have another reason beyond women turning out and voting, and that is that seniors, which is a group that largely often votes Republican, they've also been behind on the early vote. But look at the flip side to this. The Trump campaign will tell you that even though seniors are behind on the early vote, that means a lot of them actually show up to vote on election day. So they're not necessarily concerned about that. And whereas women are turning out big in Pennsylvania, if you look at Arizona, the Trump campaign is super excited that they have seen an influx of young male voters who, by the way, traditionally do not vote at very big numbers. Paul, they're turning out in record numbers. And so they're happy about that. I would just sort of caution that when we look at early voting, it's really hard to sort of take big conclusions away. I mean, they certainly tell some sort of story. I mean, certainly women in Pennsylvania are upset with Trump and they're turning out, but also men in Arizona, young men in Arizona, they're coming out too. So we just have to be cautious.
Yeah, you're not getting the whole picture with these early numbers. But this week we saw the campaign on both sides devolve into insults over the word garbage. I'm just wondering how much of an impact these last minute mistakes, if you want to call them that, how much of that is going to play out in this election, or does it have any weight as this being overblown?
It's really hard to say when we're this close to election. There's really not a lot of voters who are still on the fence right now that you could hold up these sort of arguments and say, look, Trump said this, you should vote for Harris, or Biden said this, you should vote for Trump. But what they can do is actually juice turnout. And this is, by and large, going to be a turnout election. Do Democrats turn out their people at higher numbers than Republicans do, or is it sort of vice versa? In that regard, I think these comments about, for example, what Donald Trump has said about Liz Cheney in a firing squad or wanting to go after her if she's president, that's something that Democrats are going to use to try to gin up their base to get out there. So we'll see if it works, but they could make a difference.
All right, Rachael Bade, as always, appreciate your insight. Thank you. Next on Full Circle Florida, if 2022 was the year of the parent vote, is 2024 the year of the female vote? How the White House could be won or lost by how many men sit at home versus how many women show up.